Hello, YouTube! I am so excited to be working on this. I recently purchased this massive set of 3D printable files from Massassi for my 3.75 or 1 to 18 scale Star Wars figures. I will also include the link in the description below. In this video, I will show you how I printed, painted, and installed Set 2A, the throne area attributes. Due to the small size and intricacy of these pieces, I need to print them on a resin printer. This is the 5th video of my build of Set 2, the throne area. If you haven't already watched the first 4 videos, or any of my other Jabba's Palace videos, you can find them in my playlist that I have linked to in the description below. Here is a link to my video on how to use a resin printer. This is what all the printed pieces look like when they're finished. And now it's time to remove all the supports. So to do that, I'll use these clippers. And I like to use my magnifying glasses. And I'll pick them up. And it's very important to use clippers. You don't want to try and rock the pieces and knock them off, because that will often break and snap the pieces that you want to keep. So what you do is you very carefully go around and kind of remove all the attachment points. And you can do it by branch. So that one had 3. And when you've clipped them, you're still going to have all these little pin heads. You can use 220 grit sandpaper to sand them all flat so you don't see them. So I'll continue in this way and clean up all the pieces. To start painting all the little pieces, I'm going to use a glue gun and an old board. And I'm just going to glue the pieces down so that I can paint them without touching them. Now, for the Nargles, I was a little bit nervous about this, but what I'm going to do, I think is going to work well, is we're going to take some snips and we're going to cut off all the little end pieces, flush with the edges. Each one has 3. And then I'm going to use some 26 gauge wire. It's silicone wire. So silicone means it's really malleable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 7 inches for each one, approximately. And then I'm going to take a wire, and we'll use Gorilla Glue gel because it dries fast. And then we'll put a little drop of the gel and then we'll attach a wire. And then we'll hold it until it sets. There. So once it starts to really stick, you can set it down and just let it completely dry, and it will form a nice strong bond. And then we'll do that. Each one has 3. And by the way, this wire is about 1.5 millimeters wide. For the pipes for the nargils, rather than using the ones that Massassi provides that you could print with a resin printer, I used wooden dowels, and I found the right sizes. So one of them needs a little bit of a thicker one, and then this one has a double with thinner ones. And then I just glued them together because these were 12 inches each. So I glued them together, and then I used a heat shrink wrap, which is the same thing I'm going to use when I do the electronics and the wiring for the lights. And you just heat them up, and then they shrink and they bind it. So they're holding it very well. As soon as all that glue dries, we'll be ready to take all of these pieces outside to my garage and spray them with a nice coat of primer and paint, Rust-Oleum satin granite. For the barbecue table, we'll paint it dark copper. We always stir these metallic paints a lot. With a toothpick. And then I'll use a number 1 flat Nick Pro. And I'll try to paint over it, but not get the top of the table. Now we need to get the copper under the legs. It's okay if we go over a bit because we'll fix that up. By pushing up and down, it gets the paint that's stuck in the holes because I don't want to fill up any of the holes. I'm going to paint the legs with Tamiya XF92 yellow brown. Sometimes when we have a flat, monotonous surface that's all the same color, the easiest way to paint it up is to take a lighter color. So this is Tamiya XF80. And I'm going to use a flat number 2 brush and unload most of the paint. And then you can just lightly brush over the surface, especially on the edges. Being careful not to get it on any of that brown. for the leg. And this will add some more depth and realism to the piece. And I can do the same thing. Again, it's a single monotonous color on the leg, and we use this one. But we can go lighter and just unload the paint and just go over the raised edges in the centers and give the whole piece some more depth. For the turtle shell, I've painted it flat black. And now I'm going to use Tamiya Red X7 to paint the ribs. So to do that, I'm using a flat brush. Put some paint on it. This is a number 2. And then I'm just going to go over the tops. Here is a guide to how I painted the nargils and the tubes that attach to them. Now we'll finish up the pieces by applying a black wash. This is the same wash that we've been using all along. And we just brush it on. This wash will dull everything down, make it look a little bit older and reused. We'll just make sure that it isn't pooling anywhere. I've still got these pieces hot glue gun to the board. Makes it much easier to do stuff like this. I completely painted them while they were like this. And we'll let that dry. With a wash, I usually do at least 2 coats. I installed all the attributes on the back wall one at a time. I used super glue, holding the piece with my fingers until it set. When I felt that it was secure, I would go on to the next piece. For the front nargils and pipes, I laid the model on its back so I wouldn't need to fight against gravity. Then I carefully positioned the pipes where they needed to go, and I used green painter's tape to temporarily fasten them in place. This helped me a lot. Then I used super glue to glue in the braces one at a time. Massassi made this easy by providing indents on the surface for each brace to show us where to put them. You will also notice that I printed one extra brace and installed it in the middle, just for extra support. Thank you for watching my build series video for the 3D printable Jabba's Palace complete with hanger from Massassi. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. If you have any other ideas or tips for how to complete any of the steps that I've shown, please leave us a comment below.